What's up, everybody? This is Alex. Welcome back to Squeaky's Reef. So I've had my fish in the tank for about a week now, starting to get a little bit of detritus, and I figured it was probably time to add a small cleanup crew. Now, some companies are recommending cleanup crews that are downright insane, of like 1 snail per gallon and 1 crab per gallon, but I'm BRS. All of their advice has been rock solid to date, and they're saying don't do that. Get a small number and increase gradually to meet demand. So that's what I did. Now, I decided early on that I was going to try and source as much of my livestock from one place as I could to, limit diseases and limit how many different systems I was touching and how many different pests I would be exposed to. So I already knew I was going to go with LiveAquaria for almost everything, and I was really happy with my first purchase. Corals I'll have to go somewhere else, but for all the fish and inverts and stuff, I think LiveAquaria is going to be it for me. I also heard online that they keep all their inverts in fishless systems, which eliminates some things like ich. I haven't really tested out if that's true, but here's to hope. So I went ahead and ordered 6 tiny blue leg hermit crabs, 6 small hermit crabs, 6 trochus snails, 6 Ceres snails, 4 Nassarius snails, and I felt like I was setting myself up with a pretty good amount there, where they were going to be able to handle the load I have, and I wasn't going to have a massive die-off. Unfortunately, it didn't really go that way. I also wanted a fighting conch, but they didn't have any in stock. The reason I decided to go with the tiny hermit crabs is I was hoping that they would be able to get into some of the smaller crevices. The rock is so porous with these, bubble structures in them, and I was worried that the big snails and hermits wouldn't be able to get into that very well. So far, I feel like that was a good idea. So as usual, everything arrived perfectly happy and healthy in the bags, looked good. I went ahead and dripped it for about 20 minutes with the lights off, and I have one of those little thermometers where you can just point the laser at it, and I waited until the inside of the bag and the temperature of the tank were exactly the same. Now, last time I got fish from them, I decided I was going to just match the salinity and the temperature of the bag and the tank and then just drop them into the quarantine tank. This time I changed things, and I decided to go with LiveAquaria's procedure, which included a 1-hour drip acclimation. One thing that I appreciate about LiveAquaria is that they guarantee delivery to my door by 10:30 in the morning. And that's really important for me because I live far away from the post office on the very end of my mail route, and it normally doesn't come till about 4. So I really would worry about the state of these creatures spending an extra 8 hours in the box on the back of a mail truck. I've since had to order from another company, which we'll get into in another video, and I had to drive 45 minutes to the UPS store to pick it up, which really made me appreciate, how much effort goes to getting all this to my door so early in the morning. I'll also say that I find the size descriptions to be very accurate on all of the purchases I've had so far, and that's one of the main complaints I hear about people ordering from online vendors, is that sometimes the sizes don't match up 100%, but so far with every single purchase I've had from LiveAquaria, they have. So because LiveAquaria only does an arrival alive guarantee if you acclimate with their procedure, I decided I was going to give it a shot this time. So I set up a drip bucket, and I put it at about 4 drips per second, which I thought was a little bit on the fast side, but I was worried about the bucket losing temperature outside of the tank because I didn't have a heater in it. I would later learn that I had lost 2 trochus snails, almost all of my Nassarius snails, and all of my Ceres snails. And I thought everybody was happy when I put them in the bucket, but after reviewing this video and you kind of see everything come alive, I did not see a lot of movement out of the Ceres snails certainly, or really the Nassarius snails. So they might have arrived dead and it not been me that killed them. But what happened is, I was dripping them in this bucket and I stretched it out over the course of an hour, because I guess inverts are especially sensitive to parameter changes, and I wanted to do it as gradually as possible. And when the hour was over, I rinsed everybody with tank water and then dropped them into the tank. And I put them all in the tank in the same spot so that you could watch them crawl away, and I would know if any had died because they wouldn't move. The other piece of the acclimation procedure was that I was to periodically go into the bucket and remove about half of the water, and I did that I think twice over the course of the hour. And everybody seemed to be alive and moving around. It was actually kind of cool to watch everybody crawling around in the bucket. The trochus snails were stuck to the bottom so hard that it was almost hard to get their little feet off. So in the end, I'm not sure if they, arrived dead, or the only other thing I can think of is that while I was drip acclimating in this bucket, the temperature of the bucket was constantly going down, and by the time it was done and an hour was over, maybe it was 73 degrees or something like that, and then when I dumped it into my 79 degree tank, maybe the shock of the temperature swing killed everybody. So I plopped them all right here in the front of the tank, partially because it's 2 feet deep and I'm kind of a short guy and that's already a long reach for me, but also partially because it was going to be easy for me to see them and see which ones stayed and didn't. And I tried to kind of group them up too, so all the little hermit crabs were together and the big ones and each kind of snail. And I would say about half of them took off immediately and just started going on the rocks. And it was just in the nick of time because my detritus was starting to bloom. There was definitely, food for them to eat. And I would say about half of the ones that were left took off at night when the lights went out. It's weird to me that a certain portion of almost all of the species seem to come out at night more, and then some come out in the day more. It's weird that of the same species, some would be, leaning nocturnal, and then some aren't. I don't know. It's curious to me. But, so that's what happened. And then of those, there were a few that were left and that I knew were dead. Basically, I think it was 3 Nessarius snails, 2 Trochus snails, and all my Seraph snails. But, to kill the suspense here, the very same day I emailed them about that, and I sent them that picture within the white paper, they refunded all the money onto my account. So, go LiveAquaria, that's about the best we could expect from you. And I'm working on a video on, the ugly stage of the tank. So, probably at like the 6-week update when I get on the other side of the detritus and everything, I'll have a whole video on that. And the next time I have to drip somebody, I'm just going to do the other technique where you unroll the bag and you slowly add tank water to the bag while the bag is in the tank, and then that should solve any temperature issue, and if that was the problem, it won't be anymore. I also put in an order for, I think it was like 16 ounces of the 5280 pods and some phytoplankton, the combo pack from Algae Barn, and I have to say, my review of them isn't quite as glowing. It said 2 or 3 day delivery, and I know I put my delivery in on it was like a Thursday, so they're not going to ship during the weekend. But I never really got a tracking number or anything, and I'm not sure if it was just an oversight or if they never send one. But it helps to have a tracking number when you don't want stuff left out on your porch for a long time, and live animals is definitely in that category. Also, the jar of pods I had was cross-threaded, and the inside of the bag was wet. I don't know if it came wet or if stuff leaked out. But some of the recommendations they make for how much you want for this tank are kind of obscene too. Like, I thought, I think it was recommending I needed 4 of these 16-ounce bottles for my brand new 120. That just seems excessive to me. Just like the cleaner packs. I think that I just got one. I'm just trying to seed things. I don't have anybody to feed, and I'm hoping that'll be enough. But with all that being said, the heating pack was still hot, and the pods were still definitely totally visibly moving around and happy and healthy. So, I'm still happy with my purchase. I'm not here to bash Algae Barn. I think the service I got from LiveAquaria was just a little bit better. Like everything else, I floated it for a bit to make sure the temperature was the same. But it did suck that I had to cut the top of the jar off because it was just on there so tight from being cross-threaded. So kind of hoping I could keep the jar for something. But all in all, it's fine, and they all swam out happy and took for shelter among all the sea chem pond matrix and the sponge I had down there. So I also have some new fish in quarantine. I'll be doing a video on that probably tomorrow. And I'm just trying to get on the other side of this ugly stage and get as many of these algae problems as I can out of the way so I can start thinking about corals. And I'll be adding more cleaner crews, periodically. Probably every time I order fish, I'll order about the same more so that as my demand rises, I'll also have cleanup crew rising. But yep, I'll see you again next time, and thanks for watching.